when did you kind of get the entrepreneurial bug and kind of have that itch when you realized you were kind of different and, you didn't want to go traditional route 9 to 5 or you were already there? Like, where did this whole entrepreneur journey begin for you?
Apparently, it began when I was 7 years old.
Wow.
So I grew up in Turkey. I come from an immigrant family. So we had these open flea markets. There were like no real supermarkets, right? People sell stuff, whatever they buy from the wholesaler or they grow in their backyard. And I noticed that it's just blistering hot outside. And there's really no public water system. These people are like super thirsty. So I told my mom, what if I grab a pitcher and a glass and bring water back to these people? So I empathize with them for whatever reason. I bring the pitcher and the glass and I start offering water, and people started giving me money. I'm like, oh, I never thought of that as like an entrepreneurial thing. So it kind of awakened that feeling of entrepreneurship. Where it came from, I have no clue. And it kind of stayed there. I didn't really do anything. It didn't turn into like this water serving business next 2 years or anything like that. As I was growing up, then I reached age 7. My father left us. He left Turkey, came to the United States because he got fired from his job, and we had been going through some financial hardship. And he finally said, you know what? It's not going to work out in this country. I got to leave and build a bit better future for my kids. And it was supposed to be like this 2-month journey that separated us for like 10 years. When I was growing up, I started putting 2 and 2 together. I understood the hard way how important to do well financially speaking, right? Because in my child mind, my thinking was that if you don't have money, your father leaves you, which is not what happened. But that was
the story you told yourself, but that's what you interpreted it as.
Yeah, exactly. So, all right, we were poor and we didn't have money, and the father had to go do some fatherly thing. When we finally reunited, that was in the United States. I was almost 18 years old. So my entire childhood was spent without a father figure present. And the main reason on the back of my mind is that, well, you gotta have money. If you don't have money, life kind of sucks. I came here, didn't speak a word of English, went to high school, went to college. I didn't drop out. I did 2 degrees. I studied biology and chemistry, only to notice that I didn't have any like marketable skill sets that would make me money. But I went back to flea markets and started selling stuff. So that was the moment I noticed that, oh, I did that in the past, and I have affinity towards that. And I didn't know what to do with myself. And of course, my family was not happy that I was a college graduate, but I was selling stuff on the flea market. I noticed that I got a thing for being an entrepreneur and making money.
Wow. So it's funny, like, as you're saying that, like, I've done a couple of these and I wasn't able to kind of pinpoint when I got the bug myself. But I can remember my mom was a LPN, so she's a single mom. And so I would go over to my aunt Sandra's house, and she had 2 sons that were like 1 year and 2 year older than me. And on Saturdays, in the fall, leaves would fall down. So we would all take rakes and we would go knock on the neighbors' doors to rake grass on Saturdays for $5. And so that was one of our little entrepreneur journeys. But then back then in the mid 80s, early 90s, we also would go to the grocery store and we would just stand outside there and we would carry people's groceries to their car for $1, $2 for tips. Interesting that you said that, like, that's the story that you tell yourself about your dad leaving, is that he needed to go make money. How does that play out as you being a father of 2 now? Is that still something that kind of plays, that you want to make sure that your family isn't broken up from like finances or what? Like, how does that drive you?
Yeah, great question. So I didn't really figure out that was the frame of thought for me all these years until I had my own kids, right? So at the moment I had it, my role has changed. I'm not a husband or just business owner anymore. I'm a father too. So you have another title. Then you start, wondering how you can become a better father, and that makes you think of your own father if you had any in the past, right? And then that took me down to a journey on, all right, so what happened in my life? What do I think about my father, first of all? Because I think it's a lot easier to judge people when you look at past data. And that's what I've been doing, right? I'm like, oh yeah, he should have stayed. He should have taken care of us. He should have done this. You go through that back and forth and you come to the conclusion that he didn't mean evil. He was actually trying to be a better father. And his definition of a better father, a good father, was that I need to take care of this kid, and I just don't know how to do it. I don't want to say I forgave him, but I understood him, because as a father, like my first son, he was colicky. you would just keep crying for no reason at all. You just don't know what to do. It dawned on me that my father must have felt like that when he got fired and he can't feed his family, and he's feeling totally helpless because you're in a little town and everyone knows each other, and the 10, 20 people that you know around you have been doing the same thing for 20, 30 years, and they haven't changed. The income hasn't changed. Everyone is low income.
Yeah, that's very interesting. Like Kevin Hart and Jay-Z did a podcast, and he talked about they were living in the projects, and there was the circumstances where there wasn't a lot of money around the house, and so he didn't have a choice but to go out and to be a street pharmacist. For him, he thought that he needed to do that to provide for his family, but what he said was when he would come back home with money to provide, it still wasn't good enough. His mom was upset because she was left at home to deal with the kids, and so she was struggling, and so that's how they wasn't having the same communication. So it's just very interesting to hear you say this, because at the end of the day, right, like, we want to provide the best for our kids, and we have been through things. We know the power of having, a team, a home, a family with consistency, good education, and all of the resources and the means so that kids can have a great upbringing, because as adults, we're still kind of dealing with some of those things from our childhood. So let's kind of take a step back. What's been the evolution of your entrepreneurial journey? Like, when did it officially start where, you finished college, right? You got a chemistry and a biology degree. Where did it go from there?
So I wanted to put my degrees to use because I graduated and I owe like $40,000 in student loans. I could have gone to medical school, but there was this desire for me to make a lot of money because we were still not financially doing great, right? So I wanted to get into pharmaceutical sales. I said, all right, this is a great fit. I like selling. No one wanted to hire me because I didn't have any prior experience in the pharmaceutical sales, and I couldn't really find an entry-level job. Then someone who's my close friend right now used to be a manager at this financial services company. They were selling those credit card machines back in the day, the bricks that you swipe your card through.
Oh, wow.
So he hired me. I'm like, dude, I don't know anything about what you're doing. He's like, no problem. This is 100% commission. I was out in the streets hustling, honestly, just talking to businesses, cold calling, telemarketing, no formal sales training. That's what I did for 2.5 years and built a portfolio of clients who are using our services and swiping through our machines. I used to see a lot of business bank statements. That taught me a lot because for the first time, I was seeing how businesses are making money. I would walk in these restaurants and sometimes I would see someone making $100,000 a month plus cash on top of that. That was mind-boggling numbers, and me, if I were to make $5K a month, I'd be happy. And I'm seeing all these businesses, and a lot of them are a lot less formally educated than I am. Like, they're killing it. It was an epiphany moment. I'm like, oh, look at this. Like, if you become a business, you can actually 10x your current income. And I was looking at my boss that has been at that company for 10 years or so. He was barely breaking 6 figures. I'm like, this is stupid. So that was, I guess, the awakening of that entrepreneurial spirit that I said, you know what? My exit out of poverty is owning my own business. I have no idea what I will do, but I need to
do with these guys that I'm walking into their business doing. I need to be them, right? And then you talk to multiple businesses and you're like, okay, well, what exactly did that person do to have that business, and what are they doing to have that success? And you realize, okay, if I keep doing this, my ceiling is probably what my mentor is, but that isn't my goal. So then I need to switch the game that I'm playing.
You're 100% right. So when you follow the scientific process, you look at the end result, you want to trace it back to what happened. Well, what happened was they found a problem. They created a business to solve that problem. So over time, I started getting coaching. So since I didn't know what I needed to do, and I wasn't in a position to get it from my environment, I think Tony Robbins says that your income is the average of the 5 people that you hang out with. Yes. That was exactly what was going on, right? We're having the similar conversations. We're buying from the similar places. We're living in the similar neighborhoods because we have the same mindset. So I needed to go above that.
Then I learned. Level, yeah.
So I went to this event, and that's the moment that made me believe that, yeah, those people have done it, but I can do that too. Everyone has those self-doubting, self-limiting questions, right? Yeah, I know he can do it, but look at me, man. Like, I'm an immigrant who came from another country. Like, I can't do that. You keep saying it to yourself, but a part of you, for whatever reason, tells you, no, man, you're created to do better things. Like, why not go after them? That pain propels you to do something that you've never done before.
And that's the difference, is like, you have to act in spite of your emotions.
there will never be a perfect moment, right? So a lot of people, I think, wait for that. Especially nowadays, there's a lot of talk about recession, right? And I see a lot of people are being a little more reserved.
Yeah, that's a fear-based, inactive thing that's only going to put you in a worse position.
Absolutely. You will never be able to push yourself to your limit because there will always be something going on. If you look at the other parts of the world, people are going through freaking wars, man, and they don't know what tomorrow is going to look like. They still have to wake up and do their best, right? So if you're looking for a reason not to do anything, you'll find a ton of them. That's why I highly suggest that just do your thing, find out what your why is and how you're going to change the situation. Make sure it makes you feel uncomfortable, because if it is making you feel like you can just get it done, you might be being a little complacent.
Yeah, for sure. Looking back now, right? Because you had this epiphany that like, okay, I'm playing the wrong game, so I need to do something. So what happened after that?
I didn't know what I wanted to do for a while. That's why I went through like series of coachings from different mentors. While that's happening, I'm climbing the corporate ladder. I jumped through another company. Now my annual salary is about $220,000. I'm doing pretty well. And at that time, one of the senior people that I looked up in that organization, he gets fired, and they just give him a crappy reason. But I know that the main reason is his age. He's approaching like 50, 55 years old, and they notice he's making too much money. Yeah, I'm making money. I'm growing complacent here. I know I want to do something. Look at what's expecting me 10 years from now as I get older. In their mind, I'm going to be useless, and they can hire someone who can do the same job for probably 1/3 of the price, right? And at that point, I'm understanding the lending industry. So I'm doing business loan brokerage, funding loans. I'm noticing, like, I met the CEO from a lending institution. He told me his income from the prior year was $1.5 million. I'm like, that does not make sense. One person cannot make that much money. That was the breaking point, and I told myself, all right, I'm gonna just break off and do my own thing. And my manager, it didn't make sense to him. I told him, dude, what's wrong with you, man? Like, you're the top salesperson in this company and you're quitting and starting your own business when you don't even have anything going. I'm like, no, I got some stuff that I plan on the side. So that was the moment I told myself, just time out. Started funding deals and making money that way.
So let's kind of talk about, current business and what you're helping people with, just kind of shedding some light on the work that you're doing right now.
Currently, we're helping people become business loan brokers, follow the same path that I follow. I'm currently working with people who are entrepreneurial, whether they want to get rid of their 9-to-5 job or they're involved in a failing business and they're looking for a better avenue. Obviously, I'm biased, but having tried different businesses, the best business you can be in is in the business of selling money. If you're in the business of helping others get access to capital, that's the most lucrative business you can start. With that mantra, it kind of took off, and we have over 6,000 brokers in an industry that actually no one really knows about. I'm fortunate enough, I got into it at an early age, and I got trained by the best people. Now I'm passing out the training to other people, so helping them start their own business. So that's what we've been doing over the past few years.
Awesome. So for somebody who's watching this is kind of not really familiar with the business lending kind of thing, people may be like, maybe I'm in banking, or and I want to go out on my own, or what types of customers usually transition into what you're doing?
Honestly, we have people from all walks of life. We have single moms, we have people who used to be gardeners, we have police officers, firefighters, construction workers. So they want to make a change in their life for the better. Financially speaking, it can translate to other areas in your life. If you're already a good person, it can make you a better person because now you have the means to make a bigger impact. So it's not so much the background, because most of our people do not have any financial services background. We kind of take care of that part and help them understand the importance of the industry. And this industry is growing over 100 to 150% every single year. So the people who are attracted to it, when they see the opportunity, they understand it. And if you don't have butterflies in your stomach, like you don't see the opportunity, you should just go back to what you're doing or try something else, which is okay, right? But just know that this massive industry that's like a well-kept secret exists, so you can help your family, but you can also help others. You can help yourself too.
Yeah, for sure. And it's so interesting that you say that information, but I always pick up on the subtle things when you talk about the butterflies. Don't let those butterflies stop you from taking action. It's actually a good thing. For example, did you have butterflies when you were about to have your first kid? Right? Did you have butterflies when you were about to propose to your wife? Right? You knew she's probably going to say yes, but you still had butterflies. That didn't stop you from taking action. The people that have success take action in spite of the butterflies. In fact, the butterflies should let you know that you're probably going in the right direction.
Big time, dude. If you don't have butterflies, like you got nothing going on. If you're beat up and you're tired for working for somebody else, or what you're doing currently doesn't excite you anymore, you got to kind of sit back and think about what the next 5, 10, 15 years will look like. You want to be driven and satisfied. And if you're not currently satisfied, doing the same thing over and over again for the next 5, 10 years, will that make you more satisfied? I think the most important talk that people need to have is a talk with themselves. Sit down and have a meeting with yourself and ask yourself tough questions.
And that's a lot of what I learned from my journey was, man, you're kind of running blind without a plan and a mentor. So I can think of like when this whole started, I think we kind of collided through Sam Ovens, right? And I can remember my journey, and I'm curious what yours was, because I was unhappy with where I was in the life insurance business, and I was waiting tables at night. I came across some of Sam Evans things. I watched it. I was like, oh man, maybe this isn't too good to be true. And then I jumped in. I realized I had the butterflies, but I still took action, invested my last amount of money. In fact, I had to borrow $900 from my mom. And the journey wasn't all roses. I didn't just shoot straight up to the moon, right? The first month I made $500, but then I had to give the guy a refund because I wasn't able to get him any results. Then month 2, I think I made like $1,000, right? And then it clicked month 3. At month 6, I was able to quit waiting tables and all this because I had made enough to pay all of my bills, and I finally hit 6 figures. And then, of course, I'm thinking I'm hot stuff, and it goes down a little bit. And then from there, I was like, okay, I never want to go below that. And then over 18 months, I hit 7 figures. And then from there, like 100K per month was kind of my standard. And I never kind of really breached that. And now I'm looking, to hit that 500 to $1 million a month cash going into 2023. What was your evolution stages, your entrepreneurial journey for you?
Me carrying into an online business happened through Sam Ovens. So I've seen one of his ads, and he had a low ticket training program for like $997. I think it was still in New Zealand. I bought that, and I'm going through it, I'm applying it, but there are always like stumbling blocks that prohibits you from that growth. I was generating, I think $5,000 to $10,000. So he reached out to me. He's like, hey dude, we're getting together in San Diego for like a 3-day event. There are like a lot of people who have questions on this. I'm going to lay out the whole plan. So he's making about 10 times more than I'm making. And I'm going crazy trying to figure it out. So how I can take it to like 10 to 15K per month. And he says the price for the annual subscription is $12,000 off. That's his very first mastermind. I'm like, whoa. 12,000. I'm like, all right, I don't have that money for sure. So I go to my wife. I'm like, honey, this is what's happening. Like, I want to sign up to this, but it's $12,000. It's the money that we don't have. She's like, what's the plan then? So we discussed, and I explained to her why I need it. And thankfully, she's a very understanding lady, but also it comes down to communication and communicating properly. If you tell your spouse, hey, I got this, don't worry about it. Well, she will have to worry about it. You have to explain the plan.
Yeah, in fact, you're making her worry about it even more, because when your partner likes certainty, and like you're not giving her any certainty, you're just giving her all the risks. It's like, hey, I'm about to spend $12,000 on something. Wait, what?
Then we put it on different credit cards, honestly, her credit cards and my credit cards, and invested into it. That event, because I met people who followed the very same training that I bought from him, but they were just building their business to 30, 40K. And I saw it with my own eyes, and I've talked to these people. I'm like, oh, I got to do something. So when I came back, I was a different person, honestly. I hooked on to those seminars and live events. But yeah, so that's how it all started for me, to learn from mentors who've been there and done that. I mean, even if you don't have the means, I guess the message is, don't look at your current situation and let it stop you. It's not about having resources, it's about being resourceful. You'll figure out a way, right? There's always a way. It goes back to that self-talk, right? You can't do that. You don't have the money. Well, shut that voice down for a while and think about, if you had it, imagine you had it, would the thing that you're trying to do help you get to the next process? If you can answer to that question with a high level of certainty, you'll figure out a way. Simple as that. Anything you want to do that's out of the ordinary will require a lot of investment in yourself.
I think that like a success mindset is you focus more on the solutions rather than the problem. Like, what are the successful people that are doing that this $10,000 isn't a lot of money to them? Well, let me start reading those books. Let me start investing in those courses. As we kind of wrap this one up, Oz, I'm just curious if people are interested to learn a little bit more about you, where can they go to access some information?
Yeah, if they're looking for a lot of free information on what we do, we have a YouTube channel. It's literally just Oz Konar. If they search it, they can find our channel. We have a lot of videos. If they're interested in what we do specifically, it's every information they need is on our website, which is businesslendingblueprint.com. So
Businesslendingblueprint.com.
Yes.
Okay.
One more comment before we wrap up on what you just said on the Mastermind. I think that's a great idea. From my experience too, like people who kind of come into an industry they're not familiar with, their usually number one question is, how do I generate leads? Are there leads in abundance? And can we get some more leads and all of that? They kind of narrow it down to finding customers, but they forget, which is a solution that you're providing with an annual Mastermind, is that generating leads is usually not a big deal, right? You can get leads. It's how you handle them that's the biggest thing. You need to understand what you need to know to turn those leads into money, because leads are meaningless when you don't have a solid scientific process on what you do with those leads. Leads don't have any obligation to be good, but you as an entrepreneur have an obligation to be really good. Someone who might not be ready right now, they can follow you 6 months from now, they'll come back.
Awesome. Thankful for you hopping on. This has been great, man. Definitely really enjoy hanging out with you, and I can see why your business is having so much success and growing, and I'm looking forward to following you in the school group and having more conversations like this.
It's been my pleasure. It was great chatting with you. Hopefully we were able to talk about things that can provide value to your audience. But yeah, definitely looking forward to meeting in person too.
Awesome, man. All right, take care.
Take care.